Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to a new video. I actually have a good feeling about this one because I get to pick up a book after a really long time. I think the last book that I read was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the fourth book in the Hunger Games series. I'm a massive fan of Hunger Games, and today I have a bit of a challenge for myself. I have to finish this book in 24 hours. I have actually finished a book in one day, but that was back in I think grade 11th or something, and it was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is not really difficult to go through. However, considering the amount of TV shows and series that I finished in one day, which is not something to be proud of, I know I have high expectations for myself. But I am a little bit concerned because I did read the first few pages of this book before my exams and all happened. It was a while back, I don't remember a lot, but I do remember that the characters in this book are supposed to be teenagers, and just the way they talk in your classic crash teenage talk language, which is explicit, but I don't mind that. I don't know, it just didn't sit right with me, and it was pretty cringeworthy if I'm being honest. I'm hoping it's not an author writing style thing in just, teenagers. And oh, by the way, quick shout out to Pragya because this book is actually hers and I bought it from her and I'm not going to return it. No, I'll return it. I'm kidding. Please don't mind how I'm looking right now. I just came out of the shower, as is clearly evident by my wet hair. I've not even had breakfast yet. So I'm going to go make some coffee for myself and then we can jump right into this. I'll give you the sun. Hello, so it's currently 1 p.m. and I have gone through about 50 pages of this book. So just to brief you as to what has happened so far, this book focuses on the relationship of two twins, Noah and Jude, and how their relationship progresses from a really close-knit one to something a little more tragic as they grow from 13 years old and onwards. I am so grateful that the teenage trashy talk people I was talking about are only a part of the first scene and they are not even main characters. They are basically 13-year-old homophobic idiots and they call everyone around them with derogatory names. Noah is actually gay, which is revealed in the first scene itself, and he is at this point 13 years old, and his language does put me off a little bit because when he's talking to other people he uses a lot of hyperbole weirdly, and that it's too often, it's off-putting in a way. But I did notice that his as his thoughts mature, so does the writing. For instance, he says things like, I can't stop thinking about no matter how hard I try because I really like thinking about them. Man, I do. While on the other hand, at one point he describes the souls of the people around him. So he basically has a difficult relationship with his father, but he really loves his mother. So he says, Mom has a massive sunflower for a soul, so big there's hardly any room in her for organs. Jude, which is his twin, and me have one soul between us that we have to share, a tree with its leaves on fire. And Dad has a plate of maggots for his. That actually made me laugh. So I am happy that the trash talk is over, hopefully. Another great thing that I'd like to mention is that Noah is a great artist, and his art is sort of reflected as it goes through his mind on the pages. So I'll show you one page which is completely blacked out, and this is actually when Noah is in a difficult situation and he is channeling the darkness inside him on his art book, and he just basically covers the entire page with black. And you can see that, and all throughout the book there are these art strokes which are really beautiful. Even the chapter names themselves are sort of, in this handwriting style. I don't know, I just felt this was really smart. Like, there's a heart on this, and it's as if they closed the art book before the ink had completely dried. So I don't know if you can see, but on the other page there's this imprint of the heart. So this is something, it's a very subtle detail, I get that, but I like that. Another thing is, throughout whatever I've read so far, there are these portrait ideas that pop into Noah's head, inspired from things happening around him. For instance, Noah and Jude actually have a very close-knit relationship, which has its own flaws, as we discover later. But Noah describes himself and Jude as half people. They came into this world together, and Noah has always been able to read what's going on in Jude's mind. However, Noah himself feels like a hostage with everyone else except Jude. He doesn't talk much. Jude is the one who does most of the talking. Noah actually talks more to animals and pets more than humans. However, on the contrary, Jude has never been able to get what goes on inside Noah's brain, because Noah has this, he shuts himself off as a defense mechanism. In the starting of the book, they're both 13-year-olds, and Jude actually doesn't know about Noah being gay. So Noah finds himself in this really trapped situation, and that's when, very subtly, in just one sentence, this self-portrait idea is mentioned of the boy hiding inside the boy, hiding inside the boy. Another example is that when their parents are fighting and you can hear them through the other room, Noah thinks of a portrait with his mom and dad, but with screeching kettles instead of head. Again, these are very subtle details. They're not talked about much, but they're just mentioned in one sentence. But this is something that I have liked so far, and I actually took notes for the purpose of this video. But now I think it's time to take a break. My eyes had started to water. My lunch is also ready, so I'm going to go grab that, take a good, let's say, 45 minutes to 1 hour break, and then we'll get back into this.
One thing that I liked was how Noah's anxiety issues as a young teen was dealt with, because the writer doesn't call it out outright. Instead, his weirdness is correlated to him being from beyond the world, which I thought was beautiful, especially because this book is meant for later teens and young adults. So the writing uses these small bits of magic, which makes me smile. Noah actually gets this magic from two people: a character that finally frees him from his hostage-like situation, as well as his mother. Actually, Noah and Jude both have different relationships with their parents, and later on, a tragedy takes place that obviously I will not reveal. But this tragedy not only takes away Noah's magic, but also the entire dynamic. Like, literally everything changes.
What bad decision, you ask? Well, a section of the book legitimately made me go to sleep. Now, to be fair, I didn't have the best sleep last night, which, considering this being a 24-hour readathon, was not really a good decision. Oh well. You know what? The weather is actually pretty good right now. It's 6 p.m. and I'm getting a little restless over here. So I think I'm going to go on the terrace, have a little walk, maybe even catch the sunset if I'm lucky. And we will continue the reading there for some time at least.
Here is a passage that I most liked from the book. It's not my 100% favorite, but pretty close to it. Dearest, I have gone mad. I do not want to eat or drink, or I will lose the taste of you in my mouth. Do not want to open my eyes if not to see you. Do not want to breathe any air that you have not breathed, that has not been inside your body, deep inside your beautiful body. I must. I turn to the next page, but it doesn't continue. I must what? I whip through the rest of the pad, but the remaining pages are blank. I search through a few more notepads scattered around, but find no more words in English, no more words for dearest. The skin on my arms is prickling. Dearest is her. It has to be. The woman in the painting. The clay woman climbing out of the clay man's chest. The female giant. All the female giants. I read the note again. It's so steamy, so desperate, so romantic. If a man doesn't give his beloved the letter he writes, his love is true.
Okay, it's been really long since I last updated you guys, but I have been continuously reading since the evening, I believe. I haven't even stopped except for maybe food breaks, but that's about it. However, either I underestimated how long it takes to read a book in comparison to movies and TV shows, or I'm just out of practice and I'm now slow in reading, because I've read I think a little more than 200 pages, and I don't know, I just thought that I'll be able to finish more by now. It's 12 o'clock. I mean, it's literally midnight. I mean, I did think that I'll have to, stay up into the night a little bit, but I thought it'd be just a few hours. However, now I don't think that's a possibility. I have added a few little notes which I believe I'll voice over a particular video. I'm sure you must have heard that by now. And my thoughts have actually started to change. I am enjoying this book more than I thought I would initially, and I have, I think, this much more. Sorry, that was my bookmark. I have like this much more to go through, so about half of the book to go through. So I'm going to be up for a while now, and I think it's good that I now take a break. Maybe another cup of coffee, I guess. I am finally done with the book. It's currently almost 6 a.m. so 4 hours before deadline. Kafi proud. And here are my final thoughts. So I went into this book with a pre-made perception that I'm not going to like it because A, it's a contemporary. I usually don't read contemporaries. This is actually my first solid contemporary. I usually tend to stick in the thriller fantasy genre. I know I've said this multiple times by now, but B, the first few pages, just the trash talk over there, it did put me off so much that I was dreading going through this book at all. And C, towards the end of the beginning, there is definitely this drab section, which to be honest is present in every single book, and based on where it's placed in the book, it can either entirely break the experience for you, or you'll just pass over it, won't care too much about it. You know what section I'm talking about, right? The place where the plot just goes, it's just stable and slow. There's not a lot of things happening. You're just flipping over the pages without it even registering in your brain. So for all of these reasons, I thought that I will not like this book at all. However, the same writing style that put me off initially, I ended up liking that about the book a lot, actually. Not the entire style per se, but there are certain perks, like certain subtle things thrown in here and there that I personally really enjoy. It's like looking for Easter eggs, I'll give you this really one example. It's really small, it's not going to spoil anything for you, but basically the main character, Jude, her grandmother refers to God as Clark Gable, And so in one of the passages when Jude wants to say OMG, OMG or OMFG basically converts to OMFCG, which I don't know, I like these subtle things, okay? I will still, however, say that I have kind of mixed feelings about this book, and a major part of that reason is that the book is divided into these chapters. You know what, they're not chapters, they are big old chunk of sections. I think the entire book has like 5 sections or something, and each of the sections is written from the perspective of one of the twin, Noah or Jude. And I had a preference for one of the twins, so I liked one section over the other, and that's why I would usually, really get into one section, while the other section would I just go through it for the sake of going through it. And lastly, I have started to notice this thing about myself, and I also hate this thing about myself, that by now I've watched so many thriller movies, TV shows, and just read books in general, that whatever turn of events are going to happen, I sort of guess it already. Sometimes, not always, not boasting about myself, but here in this case I did guess 2 of the major turn of event climactic things that happened in here. Actually, the first one I guessed completely even before it really started to show through in the book, and the second one I was doubtful about, not completely sure, but it did actually turn out to be true. So I can completely see this book being a favorite for someone else. For me, I didn't fall in love with it. I definitely enjoyed reading it, I liked it, but I wouldn't call it my favorite per se. But I will admit this, that I definitely liked it much more than I thought I would. There were actually some bittersweet moments and things that I had not actually guessed. But the 2 main reasons that I like this book a lot is, one, the perks of the writing style, just the subtleties that have been woven into each of the sections. It just it just shows how well thought the book was. Secondly, the exploration of relationships, not just one particular relationship, but different kinds of relationships, family, partners, even, not blood but found family, and how all of these relationships are intertwined into this one story. So overall, I would say that I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson was, for me, a solid 3.5 star read. I hope that through this video I have inspired you to read. If you haven't picked up a book in really long, stop complaining about it, just pick it up, maybe give yourself a challenge, because very honestly, I wouldn't have done this had it not been a challenge. I'm a true Aryan at heart, and if you tell me to do something, I won't do it, but if you tell me to do the same thing and give it to me as a challenge, chances are I'll most probably do it. With that, we come to the end of this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you've already read this book, please don't forget to share your thoughts and experience with me in the comment section down below. I love going through those comments, very honestly. If you like this video, then please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, bell button, all of that fun stuff. And I will see you soon in my next one. Bye. I need sleep.